Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production.
Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. Our mission at the Nurse Shark Academy is to expand the consciousness of nurses as experts, to reflect their individual and collective power by promoting self-agency, through inspiring nurses to dream big, reach far, and soar to new heights in business and the profession of nursing, thereby producing a healthier and richer society. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. Join us and support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's show, we have coming to us Carolyn Shiffman. Dr. Shiffman is an executive leadership coach and has 25 years in the area. Welcome, Dr. Carolyn Shiffman. And good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is the Nurse Shark Academy. I'm Tina Baxter, and I'm your host. At the Nurse Shark Academy, we are experts in nursing and experts in business. And today we have Carolyn Shiffman as our special guest from Shiffman Consulting and Coaching from Naples, Florida. Dr. Shiffman brings over 25 years of executive leadership experience in corporate, higher education, and healthcare settings, working for for-profit and nonprofit institutions. She's a former RN and certified coach. She focuses on working with nurse leaders and managers in supporting and empowering them to overcome the everyday drama in the workplace. I can tell you, I was thinking about that topic this morning, so we'll get right into it. Dr. Shiffman, if you'd like to introduce yourself further, we'd love to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Tina. This is really a special time for me to be here. You summed up my summary pretty well of, my background. I was a nurse educator actually for, 20 years or so, and then got rammed into higher education in general. So I've had a wonderful career, loved it. And still like to pursue it. I have an interesting story. I always wanted to be a nurse. So, from age 12, actually, I wanted to start volunteering in the hospital. And my parents were gracious enough to let me do that. And we were known at that age, at 12, as what we were called little checkerettes. I worked I was at Baylor Hospital in Dallas, Texas. That's where I grew up. And so I was a little checkerette. We didn't do much. We filled water, buckets and those type of things. And then when I got older, I was a junior volunteer, which was a lot of fun. I mean, my love for nursing goes way back. And then, I decided I really wanted to become a nurse. And when it came time to apply for colleges, I had hit a little bit of a roadblock. My dad. My dad really wanted me to be a teacher. And so he actually went to the director of nursing to talk about me going into nursing and what it would entail and all. And I was like, oh gosh, I was so embarrassed, why would he do that? But he did. And actually I was able to convince him, and I did go to Baylor University and got my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. So that was my path. It was always my goal, and I guess I made it happen.
Well, but you also became a teacher, it sounds like, as well. So you fulfilled
Yes,
Dad's goal too.
I did. So I figure he's happy about that.
Was your dad a teacher?
No, my dad worked in automotive. So
okay, my dad did too.
Yeah, I was the first in my family to go to college. I had an older sister, and she had no desire to go to college, but I had the desire, so it worked out.
It worked out. You know what? There's a reason. There's a reason for everything. And
Absolutely.
That's wonderful that you got that experience in the hospital at a younger age. And I wish a lot more of young people had that initiative to try to do that.
Yeah. Well, volunteering in any aspects helps anyone through admission processes in college and all.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously at age 12, I wasn't thinking about college.
Right.
You know? So, but it was fun. I enjoyed it immensely. Yeah.
So what was your first job out of nursing school?
My first job, I worked in an ICU. Well, it was a combined floor, a neuro floor with a ICU, 4-bed ICU at the end of the hallway. So that was my first job. And I didn't really care for the neuro part as much. So I transferred to just a general ICU. So.
Okay.
And I worked at Baylor University Hospital there, so in Dallas, Texas. So, yeah, for a couple of years, and then I broke away. I went. I became a camp nurse. I had an opportunity to be a camp nurse in Colorado, and
Wow.
it was a boys camp actually, and so I was the nurse there. I had really unique experiences there. I had a strep outbreak that I had to send samples all to Denver, and just all sorts of things going on, but it was a wonderful experience. So
Wow. Here's the thing, guys, listeners. You never know where your nursing career is going to take you, from neuro ICU to camp nurse. I mean, that's a big shift, but it sounds like a great journey, though.
it was a great journey. And as a matter of fact, after I left the camp, I went down to Denver, found a job, found an apartment, called home, said, I'm moving to Denver. And of course, my mother said, no, you're not. And I said, yeah, I am. So, unfortunately, I was the independent one in the family. So,
And somehow you got from Colorado to Florida.
oh, yeah, that's a journey and a half. Oh,
So what was your best nursing experience? I mean, what was the best day as a nurse that you've had?
oh my goodness, my best day. I loved in the hospital that I was working at after I was in Denver. We had an open heart surgery center, and I really enjoyed working with those individuals after they came out of surgery, as they recovered. Those I love cardiovascular nursing, so that was my true love, I think.
Cardiovascular nursing. Awesome. Well,
Hmm.
it's fortunate you're able to find that niche that really speaks to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's one of the great things about nursing, is that you can try different things to see which works.
That is so true, and I've tried a few through my career. But I think that's the beauty of it, right? So,
Yeah.
there are so many opportunities, and it just doesn't have to be in a hospital setting or a clinical setting. It could be in an organization.
Hmm.
There's many opportunities for nurses.
So how did you make the shift from bedside nursing to academia?
It's a good question. There comes a time when you need to have a mentor in your life. And I had a director of nursing who, when I was in the education department, and she said, Carolyn, if you're going to continue in education, you need to get your master's. I said, oh, okay. So I enrolled in a master's program, and luckily I have a great husband. And at the time, I had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh my.
And my husband was a pediatrician, but he told his call group, he said, I cannot be on call on Wednesday night because Carolyn's in class. And so for 2 years, that's what he did. He took the kids on Wednesday nights, and I took classes. And so the funny thing happened in the middle of it. Um, they they eliminated the education department in the
Oh no.
hospital. I was like, it was a small one, and it was years, goes, but they moved it into the overall hospital. And so there I found myself without a job. So I was finishing my degree, and applying for a job, and it actually ended up being in a college. And so that's how I made my transition to the education field.
And so maybe that was a fortuitous that she got you to get your master's degree, so that you'll be prepared for that next leg on your journey into academia. Who knew, right?
Yeah, who knew, right?
Hmm.
It's, sometimes I look back and I'm even surprised myself at where I was and how I got to where I am now. So um, I don't think I would change much of anything, though. It's been awesome.
Life as a nurse is always an adventure.
It is. It is.
And those of us that have come out of COVID know that, yes, it can be an adventure. And so there's been many ups and downs, it sounds like, in your career, as in most of us. So how did you make that leap then from academia to self-employment and entrepreneurship?
Well, once again, there was a pause in my life. From the education, I was a regional vice president for a consulting company, and I had like 9 call centers from Buffalo, New York, down to Danville, Virginia, on the East Coast. And um, all of a sudden, then I went to another college, and I was their vice president for their continuing education department.
Hmm.
And I'll just put in another nugget here. When I was signing the contract, the president said, Carolyn, before I send this letter out to the board, would you just enroll in a PhD program? I was like, here we go again, right?
Right.
So anyway, that I did that for several years, and then once again I left that as I was trying to finish up my PhD, and that's when I started coaching. And that's I love that. I found it was really another niche that I could have, and that I could help people with. And you know, and considering my whole career has been with really helping people and helping others, it just made sense. So I got my coaching certification and did that for many, many years. Um, and then the next step was I finished my PhD, and I got another position. I was a director of a Bachelor's of Science in Health Science program at Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, and did that for about 4 or 5 years. I started that program, I grew that program, and then I had another opportunity at another small college where I was the director of graduate business studies, where we had a MBA and an accounting and a project management degree. And so I that's how I got into higher ed, just stepping stones, really. And not being too stressed out, although there was some stress in some of the areas,
Mhm.
but there's stepping stones that you get to where you were. And then now that I am in Florida rather than Connecticut, I'm doing my coaching again and just really loving it.
Sounds great. And so, in looking over at your bio, you said you've worked with for-profits and nonprofits. Tell me a little bit about what you do and how you work with them.
So I guess my nonprofits, I was actively involved in my community in Connecticut, and I served on the board for our Chamber of Commerce. I started a women's group there. We would meet monthly for a luncheon and a small speaker. And then once a year, we would have a major workshop that I would put on and do that. I also worked for a community project, Dress for Success, and I helped them in Fairfield to organize and do their policies and procedures. And then I helped with their gala that they put on once a year. So those, I always find myself volunteering. Now I volunteer at a food bank. The community I live in now, we always have something once a month for for donations. And I always participate in that. In February, it was soup for the Super Bowl. And uh, I think I mentioned I work for the food bank, and, it's just me. I like to help out.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. So as an entrepreneur and owning your own business, how has your nursing career helped you in learning about entrepreneurship? How have you been able to marry the two?
Well, I think nursing is a wonderful foundation for working with people. So I think that my nursing career has made me a better listener and a better observer. So I can really sort of tell when people are hemming and hawing, so to speak, and not wanting to really say what they want to say. But I'm very observant about that, and I think that has helped. I think my career in general has, excuse me, made me. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Just take a moment.
I know how to interact with people, and I think that's a big help for me. And my voice is going, so excuse me.
That's okay. All right. And so looking at your bio here, it says that you work for an educational consulting company. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what that entailed?
Yeah, so that was when I was traveling a lot. I had the 9 cost centers. So it was actually the company itself was called IPD, the Institute for Professional Development. It was under the umbrella of the University of Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
So our role in that job was to work with small colleges to help them develop their continuing education programs. So we help them with bachelor's and master's degree programs. My role in that was for each contract, we did the recruiting and the financials for the colleges. The colleges had full say in all of their academics, and all of their the people who do the teachers, the advisors, and everything. But we did the business part of it, and it was really well. It worked well. It was at a time when there weren't a lot of accelerated degree programs, and so it worked really well. After a few years, actually, I was there for about 15 years, and then it faded out because people were learning how to do adult education and accelerated learning on their own. So
you did a good job and worked yourself out of a job.
Basically, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving forward, what projects are you working on currently right now?
Well, I am working with a very good friend and a colleague who we work together in a college in Connecticut, and we work very well together. We just seem to mesh, I guess. She lives on the West Coast in San Francisco, and I'm on the East Coast in Naples, Florida. So, but we are working together to form a group for nurse leaders and educators, and we're calling it Fearless Nurse Leaders. We're in the process of developing a website and a program to go with that. So we are very excited about that. Our website has been delayed a little bit. The person who was working on it had a family emergency, and so we're scrambling to find someone to fill in. So hopefully it'll go live within the next few weeks. But can I share our sort of niche statement with you?
Sure. Go right ahead. Yeah.
So our goal is really to help nurse leaders overcome the everyday challenges that they face through the chaos of the working environment. Our goal is also to provide essential leadership skills for them to help them develop if they need so. And then as a result, we will help them have more balance in their life and choose goals and goals that have more meaning and purpose, I guess you would say, for their own satisfaction. And I'd like to really sort of break that down if I could. So the first part of it is to help nurse leaders overcome the chaos, the challenges and chaos, right? So what do we mean by that? Well, in the working environment, we know that there are issues like safety in the
Yes.
workplace, staffing shortages,
Hmm.
demands of other professionals, and not to mention the patients and their issues. So that's some of the things that we want to help people and nurses to manage and to take care of. The second part, the goal to provide leadership skills and development, that's where I think our mastermind comes in. So we really want to not just, it's hard to rely on just yourself. But if you're in a collaborative group where you can share with others what you are facing, some of your challenges, and even some of your wins, it really forms a collaborative group process, I think, that
Yes.
people can depend on one another. And then the last part with the balance in your life, I've always been uh, one that really tried to find balance in my life. And I think over time, I think I've been pretty successful about it. There have been times that, we all get in a crisis mode of having to have a project completed. But I think work-life balance is really important. Goal achievement is really important with those that just brings, the professional satisfaction that you want. And then also bringing mental fitness into your life. I think that's important. And so you might think, well, what do you mean by mental fitness? And we all know what physical fitness means, right? We
Right.
lift weights but mental fitness is really the capacity to handle life challenges with a positive mindset rather than getting upset and stressed. And so those are some of the key things that we really want to emphasize with the groups that we're going to be forming. Does that make sense at all?
That makes sense, and it sounds wonderful. Having covered the nursing shortages, the staff strikes, and all the
Mhm.
things that's happened over the past couple of years on another show, which, by the way, you can always listen to our nursing news show every Wednesday at 5 p.m. But I Eastern time. But I would say having those leadership skills could be key and critical for any nurse, not just the manager or the supervisor that's on the floor or the charge nurse, but
Mhm.
how to manage your career and your life is key for everyone. And I think every nurse can take advantage of this.
I agree. I think it's really important. And I think, a lot of, you know, uh, not just nurses, but a lot of women in general say, well, I'm not a leader. But, we really all are. I mean, we lead our
Yes.
family, we lead our children, we make decisions about our households all the time. Those are leadership skills that you have to have in any workplace environment. So I think it's really important.
I could not agree more. And again, I was just thinking about this topic this morning. It's interesting you bring it up because one of the reasons why I have this show is for nurses to be able to tell their story. A
Mm.
lot of times we don't get to speak our truth. No one's listening. We don't have time. We're so busy. You give reports, you just got to stick to the facts because you got to move on to the next thing. And sometimes we are lost in that whole journey, and we never get a chance to talk about what's important to us. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to give nurse business owners and leaders a chance to share their story so that maybe it will inspire other nurses to do the same.
I think that's a great opportunity for anyone. And I'm so pleased that you are offering this. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to have many, many people to share their stories. And I think that's what they are. I mean, our lives are our stories, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. it's interesting. I just recently lost my father, and on my way out the door to come here, I was looking in an old purse for frankincense, essential oil. I was looking for my vial of frankincense, and I had taken from his jewelry box some pictures that he had from his military ID, and I happened to find his gun owner's permit that he had with his picture on it. And it just made me smile. It made me laugh because because he looks so young and youthful on this picture. That's how old he's had his gun permit. He got a lifetime permit. And because he was ex-military and all that kind of stuff. So it made me think about how many stories he had to tell. And I was curious. It's like, I wanted to ask questions about what made you decide to do this. And we don't get a chance to tell those stories, and we miss an opportunity. And so I want nurses to not have to regret not being able to tell their story. And maybe years later, their grandkids will be listening to this and find out a little bit more about how they became the person that they are or were.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I agree. And I'm sorry for the loss of your father.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. But I also look at the fact that he had a rich life. And so, and my specialty is geriatrics. So I love listening to those stories of people's lives and how they got where they were, and, kind of like a summation of who they are. We tell each other stories so that we know that they live on through our stories.
Right.
And so that's important. So let's shift on. You do have an offer for our audience, and tell us a little bit about that.
So my colleague and I would like to invite anyone who's interested to participate in this mastermind group. As I said, it should start in sometime in April or early May. And for the most part, it just meets twice a month. But the first 6 months of, not the first 6 months, the first 6 weeks, I would like everyone to participate in the positive intelligence program that I'm associated with. And it's a wonderful program. It has 3 major components with it, where we look at our saboteurs, the people that the things that are holding us back. So we all have a judge that sits on our shoulder that says, yeah, right or wrong, right? But there are 9 others, and I'll just give you a couple of mine. One of my saboteurs is a high achiever, and that's it's good, but it also has its drawbacks, as you might expect. And then another one is a stickler. That borders on perfectionist, and I have worked really hard throughout my entire life to try to not be a perfectionist, and I'm pretty good with it, except where work is concerned. Back in the day, I wouldn't even fold a corner of a book to mark my place. But and I gladly do that now. So, and I crumple paper too. So, but I'm sort of a stickler with my work environment. So that's the first part of this program, is really understanding those things that are sort of holding us back, those saboteurs that get in the way of us all the time. And then there are 5 SAGE components. And the first one is empathize. And as nurses, I think we're all really good with empathizing with other people. The second one is explore, to explore different avenues. The third one is innovate, being able to innovate new procedures, new policies, new whatever we're looking for. To navigate all the challenges and chaos that we face on a daily basis. And then to activate, so really to take action to help us all improve. And then the third part of it is just being able to offer things to help us with our own self-command. We call those PQ reps, and you can do them in like 10 seconds. And just by rubbing a finger and feeling the ridges on your finger for 10 seconds, it quiets your mind. or you can rub your hands together for
Mm-hmm.
10 seconds. Or there's things that you can do, feeling your feet on the floor, the pressure of where you're sitting, just simple things like that. And it really does help you to shift that mindset around.
Yes.
So that's what I would like to talk with anyone who's interested to learn more about that. I'd be happy to. No charge in talking about it.
Right.
Just have them email me. Um, and I think I also want to give you, as soon as it's completed, the mindset um, handout that I have that you can distribute or put on your site to go along with this, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yes. So before the episode goes up, I'll see if it's ready, and maybe we can get a link to it, or maybe you can tell us how to get a hold of you. So why don't you tell us, how do we get in touch with you? How our listeners reach out to you later on, and if they would be so interested?
Sure. So my email is CarolynShiffman.com. Well, no, it's Carolyn at CarolynShiffman.com. My website is CarolynShiffman.com, but my email is Carolyn, Carolyn, at CarolynShiffman.com. And Shiffman has two F's, Shiffman. So that's the best email to reach out to me on. And if you are reaching out, just sort of put in the heading Nurse Short Academy, and I'll know it's you, and we'll connect. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, Carolyn Shiffman. And I'm also on Facebook, but I use LinkedIn more than Facebook at this point in time. So
Understandable. So again, if you want to meet with Dr. Shiffman, you can contact her at Carolyn at CarolynShiffman.com, or you can reach out to her on her LinkedIn page at Carolyn Shiffman. And I want to thank you for being here today, Dr. Shiffman. So last question. What is the best advice you would give to a budding entrepreneur?
my best advice would be think it through, be true to yourself, and go for it. You never know until you try, right?
That's right.
You never know until you try. So go for it, and then try again.
Well, I want to thank you for your time. You've been a wonderful guest. This has been an excellent segment and very informative for me as well. Please listen to the Nurse Shark Academy, like and share our content, and subscribe. I want to let you know that on our event page, we always have events coming up for the Nurse Shark Academy, so you can reach out to us and look at our website at the nursesharkacademy.biz. That's the nursesharkacademy.biz. You can find this podcast on our website, but also on other places where you get your websites, such as Apple and Samsung, Amazon, Spotify, etc. Thank you for joining us today. This is our segment for the Nurse Shark Academy, and we'll see you next time. Wait, don't go. There's a very important announcement from the Nurse Shark Academy. Look for the information at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Hi, this is Tina Baxter, and thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show via our podcast on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts, or on our YouTube channel, the Nurse Shark Academy. I want to thank you for this time and just remind you and let you know that on May the 10th, 11th, and 12th, we will be having our Nurse Shark Academy Nurses for the Kingdom Challenge. Join us. It's from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Save the date. Registration information will be following. Thank you.